Hi, I'm Dean Jenkins, founder of Black Diamond Solutions and the inventor of the Black Diamond sanding blocks. I wanted to give you a quick overview and a background on it. So these are the Black Diamond sanding blocks. I'm holding the 16-inch version. You can see it's got a rubber molded handle, ergonomic, very comfortable, and a black polycarbonate base that you attach your self-adhesive PSA sanding paper to. One of the key features is these adjustable, these rods, these steel rods, you can take in and out of the block, and it makes the flexibility of the block adjustable. And so most car surfaces, very few are actually perfectly flat. Most of them have some degree of a curve or a crown to them. And so when you're trying to get that perfectly true, you want it flat and smooth. We all know, 90% of a great paint job is in the prep. We want to have a sanding block that's going to curve and conform to the surface that we're working on. And that's just going to make getting that surface true and flat and smooth easier and faster. Now I know it's not the sanding block, it's the hand holding the sanding block. But when you got a great tool in your hand, it's just going to be easier and faster to get exceptional results. So the blocks without any rods are very flexible and again can conform to the crown or curve of the surface that you're working with. And then if you do have a flat surface, an area you're working on where you want a rigid flat block, you simply can insert the steel rods and get a varying degree of flexibility. So you already have 4 blocks in one because you got 0, and then 1, 2, and then 3 rods that you can insert, and each brings a new level of kind of stiffness to the block. And with 3 rods in, it's now a very rigid and perfect for a flat surface that you want to get flat. This is the 16-inch block. Our initial product offering is the 16-inch block, and then an 8-inch block, which has adjustable rods as well. In the near future, we hope to launch a longer, like a 24-inch block, and then some variations, some different shapes and sizes for other things. But a 16-inch and an 8-inch are going to cover an awful lot of the situations and panels that you're going to be working with. I've been a car enthusiast and working on cars my whole life. It's a hobby, it's a passion, I've enjoyed it. And over the last number of years, I decided to start getting into body work and painting my own cars. It saves a lot of money, and usually, a lot of the time, it can be satisfying. You get to get it the way you want, hopefully, and when you get done, it's something you can be proud of and get some some enjoyment from that sometimes. I'm a member of several user groups and forums and different groups. People who were into cars and body and paint, and I kept hearing about acrylic or polycarbonate blocks. And the reason people like acrylic or polycarbonate for a base is because it's rock hard, and it's not going to give when you're sanding and you meet imperfections. The imperfection is going to give to that rock hard sanding surface, and then it's flexible, right? So it's got kind of the best of both worlds in terms of being a rock hard surface and it flexes. As I heard people talking about sanding blocks and using acrylic or polycarbonate, a lot of guys were just figuring out ways to make their own. And this is some Lexan, which is the trade name for polycarbonate. You can get it at Home Depot, Lowe's, places like that. And here's some sections that I had cut up a couple years ago. This is 1/4 inch, and you can make your own blocks, but the problem has always been the handle. And how do you hold on to that thing? And so guys take tape or PVC pipe or some pipe insulation and tape it on, and these various things. And then again, this is 1/4 inch. It's not very flexible. If you did want it to flex, then you got to get a thinner one and different sheet of Lexan and cut it, and now you got this whole big assortment and all this work, and then those handles fall apart, and it works, but it's not ideal. And there have been foam blocks on the market for a long time, This is a rigid foam block, and it's okay, but these rigid foam blocks don't flex, so they won't conform to a crown or a curved surface, but because they're foam, they will give. So particularly if you're doing something like knocking down some filler, right, or you got a little imperfection, it's going to give a little bit, so it's going to take longer, and it's going to be harder to get that flat, whereas the polycarbonate, again, rock hard. There are some other vendors who offer some polycarbonate blocks. Here's an example of some. And again, the problem is always the handle and the thickness, right? So the handle on this one, it's a T handle, and it's just not very comfortable. And if you're working on prepping a car, you're going to have several hours of working the filler, blocking, doing all that stuff, and this tool is going to be in your hand for a long time, and you want it to be comfortable. So I designed these Black Diamond blocks with a nice ergonomic molded rubber handle, and of course we've attached the polycarbonate to it. And with the existing blocks also, nobody else has anything that's adjustable, so when you want a varying degree of flexibility, you have to have, for this length, you got to have 4 different blocks with different thicknesses of polycarbonate, and we've addressed that by having the adjustability of the steel rods. When I started working on this, my goal was to create the best sanding blocks ever. I'll leave it up to you to decide if I've delivered on that, but I use these now on my projects, and I love them. I created the tool that I wanted to do the work I was doing, and I think and what I heard other people trying to accomplish with polycarbonate and taping stuff up, whatever. So I tried to create the best sanding blocks ever. Again, that's up to you to decide whether I delivered on that or not. Like I said, I've been using it on my projects. Some early prototypes. There's a black Suburban on the homepage of my website, blackdiamondblocks.com, and I used an early prototype of these in prepping that car for paint, and I was really happy with how that came out. And I'm also using it on my current project, which is a 1968 El Camino.
Speaking of the El Camino project, here's a quick clip of me using the 16-inch block, doing some panel-to-panel leveling between the door and the front fender there. And you can see I've got the rods out. The block is flexible to conform to the curve of the fender and the door. And after I got all the filler work done, then I shot the car in a 2K urethane filler primer, and now I'm starting to do that blocking to get that final leveling of the car done. And in this area of the fender I'm working on, I want it absolutely flat, so I got all the rods in, and the block is totally rigid. But you can see I really do use these tools on my own projects.
So I really like these. These are a tool I wanted and that I want to use, and I do use, and I hope these help you get the exceptional results that you want, easier, faster, better. So Black Diamond flexible sanding blocks. Thanks. Oh, and I did want to give a tribute. There was a product on the market called AFS flexible sanding blocks. It had a foam handle, stainless steel base, and then some rods that you would slide in and adjust. The inventor of that was a man named John Wheeler. Unfortunately, he passed away, and the company went out of business, so you can't get those blocks anymore. People loved them for a lot of the reasons. I hope you love these in that we got a hard surface, we got flexibility, it's adjustable. But with the AFS blocks, one of the drawbacks was that stainless steel base had to be thin, really thin, to be flexible, and it was so thin that it would yield kind of like a foam block would. So it took more effort to knock down imperfections. And then there was a pretty complex series of clips inside the body that held the adjustable rods, and over time they would wear out, and people talked about the rods falling out while you're working, and that's not optimal. But the idea that John Wheeler had with a flexible block with adjustability using rods is something I built on. I have not infringed on his intellectual property. His patent actually expired, and the company has gone out of business. But I did work with a patent attorney, and we have filed for a patent. We have patent pending status. My design was different enough, unique enough to get my own patent. So we're patent pending, and in this year, middle of this year, we'll be eligible to apply for full patent status, and I'm highly confident we'll get our patent issued for the Black Diamond flexible sanding block. So that's it. And again, I hope they're incredibly useful for you, and that they help you get better results. Thanks.